agency. It has carried the gospel of Christ overseas for 160 years. Now it installs a new chief executive. He is the Reverend Dr. David Metz Stowe, a young, articulate, forceful leader who once served as a board missionary in China and a teacher in Lebanon. He has just completed a distinguished ministry as head of the Division of Overseas Ministries of the National Council of Churches. In his installation address, Dr. Stowe warns that America's problems are the world's problems, and the board's.
This board will fight racism with every weapon it can lay its hands on. We shall cajole, converse, and contend with American companies in which we invest or with which we do business. We shall urge them to subject all their investments to careful moral scrutiny, to determine that they are non-discriminatory and make a specific contribution to the freedom, equality, and welfare of racially oppressed peoples. We shall work closely with black leaders of our denomination, with the Council for Church and Ministry, and with all others who can help us recruit more black and brown missionaries. We shall encourage those who are fighting for liberation from racially oppressive regimes by giving many kinds of aid, which do not involve the board in direct support of violence.
David Stowe is painfully aware of the consequences of violence and the use of force to solve man's problems. He was forced out of China when the communists took over in 1950. Peace is one of his deepest concerns.
Missions and missionaries have sometimes brought not peace, but a sword. It has often been their task to set a father against his son and a man against his father, a tribesman against his chief, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, a peasant against his landlord, a colonial against his imperial master. As long as imbalance of privilege and conflict of interest continue, they will be resolved by struggle, and we must take our proper part in that struggle. But we must work more effectively than ever before for the productive and healing resolution of those conflicts and injustices. What can this board do? For one thing, we can step up the already significant competence which we bring to the understanding of war-peace issues in the areas where we work. We need at least one staff member of the highest competence to give full time to a selected series of such issues and to lead his colleagues and our directors in a team effort and to link our efforts with all the organs of the church.
Increased involvement in world affairs will make it abundantly clear that as Americans grow richer, the rest of the world grows poorer.
1% of Americans hold 28% of the wealth. At the other end of the scale, half of all our people hold only 8% of our wealth. There's an uncanny resemblance between this American rich-poor profile and the profile of the planet. Within many third world countries, there is an equally grotesque differential between privileged few and the underfed many. Even more relevant for us is the contrast between American wealth and power and third world poverty and vulnerability. Our 6% of the world's people disposing of 40% of the world's goods. What can we do about both poverty and inequity? We can minister directly to some of the hurt and deprived, demonstrating the meaning and power of compassion. We can work at developmental projects of rural and village life, finding ways to get at the root causes of hunger and the lack of clothing, housing, sanitation. We can continue and extend, if funds permit, our network of educational programs, which increase the supply of trained manpower and womanpower.
The world's capacity to consume threatens the existence of life on our planet. Ecology is everybody's business.
There is an obvious and urgent theological dimension in this issue. Christianity sees man as an integral part of a marvelous ecosystem in which a living, loving, and active God sustains as a totality the whole universe. Do I not fill heaven and earth, says the Lord. He also affects it at every single point as persuasive and purposive presence. Can a man hide himself in secret places so that I cannot see him, says the Lord? This organic view of man in relation to his total environment is as old as the Bible itself, although very often unheeded or corrupted. So in all the board's efforts, we must maintain an astronaut's view of our beautiful, small, vulnerable Earth. We shall work to increase the wealth and well-being of all God's children, but we shall be wary of efforts at improvement which deal with the environment brutally, just as we question political methods which deal with human beings brutally for their own good.
These four priorities focus on the hard realities of the 1970s. But the most distinctive and important contribution of the Christian community in mission is not made in directly solving the puzzles of a baffling new world, or fighting evil, or working on issues of race and peace, and poverty and pollution, or even church life.
The distinctive task of Christian mission is evangelism. The effective communication of a good news about God's existence, his love and purpose and justice, which is uniquely available to Christians through their Bible and the reflective experience of the Christian community through 2,000 years. There are very many important and valuable things to do other than direct evangelism. Christians ought to be deeply involved in them also. Missionaries and mission programs should accomplish many tasks other than the bare communication of this good news. But the real point of all these tasks of missions and missionaries is to make plain and persuasive the gospel which impels them. In everything that we do, such communication should be part of our central intention. Each of us, in his own way, for his own reasons, has the conviction that Christ offers hope. Hope of liberation from a dead past into an open future, or we should not be here. All of us together are committed to testing out that conviction along all the world's trade routes of people and ideas. It is risky business, exciting business, demanding business. But what other business is big enough, real enough, for anyone who has once ventured upon these seas and felt the wind of God in his face?